Jerry,
What's up, man?
what's going on, brother?
What's up, dude?
Hey.
So we had a fishing tournament this weekend, right?
Oh, it was awesome.
Was it? Did you win this year?
No, I didn't win this year, but it was elbow to elbow.
Really?
It was a
Wild over
craziest
there.
thing I've ever seen. They put 400,000 pounds of fish in.
Jeez.
And day two, there's 10% of the fish in there that there was. So it was crazy.
That's wild.
There was a lot of people catching tagged fish around me, though.
Really?
I wasn't one of them.
So people don't know it's in Cherokee.
Yes.
Yeah. What do they call it?
It's the KOA campground is where that I stayed at. And generally they have their own tournament, but this year they just done the full Cherokee tournament, which you go down there and you pay an entry fee. It's like $32, and the fish range from $25, I think $50, $100, $1,000, and $5,000. And if you catch a tagged fish, you get to go to the what is it, DNR,
Yeah.
and turn in your tag, and they give you the prize.
That's pretty sweet, man.
I guarantee you though, if you got one of those $5,000 ones, they'd be like, "And how are you paying your taxes?"
Yeah, for people, we didn't mention either that this is round 2 of this podcast.
Yep.
We're going to try it one more time, aren't we?
One more time,
We
yep.
talked to Jerry late last week, right before this,
Yep.
and then now we're back, so we're getting the update now on the one. Unfortunately, audio was messed up on the last one we did. But I was thinking about it, though, after you told me about this the last time. What do you think about doing something like that for like this area, like in Spruce Pine or
It'd
something?
be amazing.
Yeah.
It would draw in thousands of people. I guarantee you that Springmaid Mountain, Spruce Pine Campground, every
Bear
camping
Den.
place, Bear Den, all of them would be slam packed full of people.
Well, see, we already do the Trout-tacular, but that's for kids,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah, this is more along the lines of fishing and gambling put together.
Right. The Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians does a good job at both of those.
Well, maybe we need a casino here to make that happen.
Yes. Let's get a casino.
Let's do it.
The North Carolina legislature just recently loosens up a little bit on the gambling rules. So
Yeah, so we can for sure.
maybe we can approach Dr. Boyd. We'll put one of those in there where the Three Peaks Center's going to put a casino in there. Off-track batting place. Yeah. That'd be crazy.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it does. It does. Jeez.
Something else like that I found while I was watching back on the episode last week that we shot with Jerry before that had audio issues. If this is kind of sus, I'll show you guys after the episode. One of the times, like the audio kept cutting in and out, and it started about 20 minutes in. But I don't know if this is coincidence or not, but both times I talked about the CCP, the audio is completely gone.
Really?
Yeah,
The Chi-Coms were listening, huh?
Yeah, so literally you heard. So the way the Chinese Communist Party does business is,
That's
that's how everything works. And I was like, what?
Do we know what kind of country or political affiliations Zito, whether they Zito?
We weren't
Communications.
live streaming, though.
Yeah, we were just recording.
recording.
Well, they still got to hear it. Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's not over the internet.
It's Sony's fault.
Huh?
It's Sony's fault.
Yeah.
It is. Yep. or Shure, or any of the other companies that we're using.
Well, Sony's Japanese, aren't they?
Yeah. Sony is Japanese. Shures are made in China. Everything in this podcast studio is made in China.
Yeah, dude. That's
It's
where they
all-
make stuff.
It's all collusion.
China. That's where we make stuff.
It was just like both times I ragged on the CCP. It was like, so the CCP, right? And like the last word I said would come back in. That's a little sus.
That was an interesting conversation though we had. You know,
That was.
I guess that was in the context of the whole like Snapchat thing. I think that's what we got talking about. It wasn't
TikTok.
banning. Oh yeah, TikTok banning TikTok.
So
Yes, sorry,
I've
not
actually
Snapchat.
learned quite a bit more about that because since then I have done a lot of research on that.
Yeah,
So they're not actually the legislation that's being put forth or proposed is not to ban TikTok outright. It's more of saying it's saying that they have to sell the company to a U.S. based company because right now, and what I said about the CCP last week was true. If you're a business that does business in China, not only do you have to have somebody, and I'm sure this is going to be like completely void of audio again for some reason. So, this is a good test to see if that's the case. But no, if you're a business entity in China, you have to have somebody from the CCP sit on your board, and you have to do anything and everything that the CCP requests of you. So they're looking at this. The legislature that put this forward is looking at this as a national security issue, not a censorship thing. They're not trying to censor anybody. So it's not necessarily going to give the government control to be able to ban social media. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to write it into law that a social media company cannot be controlled by a foreign
and
hostile government.
essentially, the CCP is making money off of this as well.
Well, the CCP, I don't know that they're making money off of it. Well, sure they are because
I mean, they have to.
They have to be, but more so than that, the CCP controls. I mean, you look at the TikTok in China is totally different than our TikTok. Our TikTok is like 5-second videos and spurts of just absolute nonsense.
Theirs is like karate and learning things.
Yes, yeah, it's
people
totally
doing awesome
different than
stuff.
ours. Totally different.
it's like that. What were those things that they gave you when you were young that played the videos or played the little animations, and it was all like learning stuff?
Yes.
What was it? What was the name of it? It's like that, except digital.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they are very, very in control over what TikTok China posts. So it's like, okay, obviously they're in control on what TikTok USA
Right.
posts and what TikTok USA is feeding to its viewers.
I heard an interesting argument like the other day. Like, you know, let's see, how was it framed? You know, all these like controversial things. Like, I think they had taken like the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing as an example.
Right.
And really, I mean, when you really looked into that thing, it was really just one marketing person at Budweiser had decided it would be cool to give these influencers their own can. It was Dylan Mulvaney and a numerous amount of other influencers of the same. And then it got picked up, of course, by, you know, your libs of TikTok and all this other stuff and made into this giant deal. And this person was trying to argue. It was Mark Cuban, actually, on Lex's podcast. He was just making the argument that, you know, if you would really looked at who made this a giant deal, it was more the impressions of it. If I had to guess, the impressions of it would have been people that have right leanings, because it wasn't even a thing until it got picked up and made controversial. And he's like, you know, you look at all this stuff, and he's like, people try to make this argument. Well, you know, oh my God, all of our kids are seeing these, you know, trans TikTok influencers and all this, and maybe that's not the entirety of the story, that most of the impressions and stuff come from the controversy, not from before it. It's like we're making it into this, that Dylan Mulvaney was some crazy influencer or whatever, like crazy influential.
Well, that goes back to what I said when we talked about this last time, that it wasn't, and to me, I agree with what he's saying to a point. I think it was an overreaction on both parts. I think that on the right, you had, well, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. And on the left, it was saying, well, this is the greatest champion for trans people in the world. And you could have no opinion that deviated from those two extremes. You couldn't be like, well, this is just kind of stupid and I don't like it.
Right.
You couldn't say that. You either had to be in full support of it or full totally against it.
Right.
There was no in between.
Right.
So I agree with him, but I think it comes from both sides.
I think you're probably right.
I think he may have just a little bit of a confirmation bias going on there.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the things that I see is, you know, do you remember the South Park episode whenever they was talking about what tolerance was?
Yes. Yeah. The what was it? The tolerance camp. They sent him to a tolerance concentration camp. It was freaking hilarious.
But it's one of those things where that people are like, you have to agree with us or disagree with us. No, I can tolerate you, and I can tolerate what you do, and I can even be friends with you and be cool with you in any way, you know, on any capacity that you want to. Where that I have to draw the line at is whenever it comes to my own belief system, my family, things that inflict directly into the pipeline of my own home. And I can tolerate you outside of my house. But whenever you bring your agenda into my house and say, I have to go by what your belief is, then you are encroaching on me.
Well,
Right.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
No, I agree. It's kind of like the whole thing that I say. Well, I think Dave Chappelle's the one who said it. It's to what degree do I have to participate in your own self-image?
Right. And really, it's to what degree do I have to participate in delusions? Because that's where we're at now. We've went beyond. And I mean, I don't care to say it. Come at me, bro. It's delusions. It's 45% of the country has lost their fucking minds. They have.
Yeah.
If we're having to debate what an actual woman is, you've lost your fucking minds.
Oh no! It not even the debate of what that a woman is or what that a man is. The debate that gets me, and it is biologically impossible, is they're trying to debate now that a man can have a baby
And breastfeed.
and breastfeed
And menstruate.
yeah, and menstruate and what?
So what you were talking about with the South Park episode, the actual quote you're referring to is when Herbert Garrison he's trying to get fired, and he tried to get fired by dressing up in the most god-awful, insane, flamboyantly gay nonsense with a giant strap-on dildo and shove a gerbil up his teacher's assistant's ass in the classroom, okay? And he was applauded for it. And they were just like, yes, tolerance.
He's so brave.
And finally, it was like they saw into the future. And finally, his speech was, he's like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Can't you see that this is not right? This is awful. It's like, yes, but tolerance. He's like, yeah, you have to you can tolerate my behavior, and that's fine. But you tolerate a screaming baby on a plane. That doesn't mean you have to like it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the difference between the left in the 90s and what we see now. Because what we see now is arguably not even left leaning. It's
this
fucking
whole,
lunacy.
Yeah.
It's a whole branch of
Sorry, I went.
And the politics part of it is just straight Marxism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So if Marxist lunacy.
Yeah.
which is even crazier than crazy, is it not?
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know.
I really do my best to try to see both sides of things. And I try to put myself to a perspective of somebody else's perspective. How are they looking at this?
Sure.
And I can't.
No.
Well, it's like you were saying earlier. You know, we were talking before we started. You're anti-abortion. I don't like to use the terms pro-life, pro-choice because those are no. You're either pro-abortion or anti-abortion.
Right.
That's it. Let's not church it up into pretty terms. And I am pro-abortion because I don't think that the government should have any say over what a woman does with her body. However, you have to be able to say you are taking human life. And the two arguments, and this is why I don't like the pro-choice versus pro-life, because those aren't the same arguments. They're not.
No.
They're not even the same issues.
No, you're dead on that one.
One of them is arguing that women should have autonomy over their body, which is true. The other argument is you shouldn't take human life, and that's also true.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
where
both things can be true.
Yes.
Yeah, where is the middle ground?
There is no middle ground on that one.
Exactly.
Well, here I'll say this though, and this is what I've brought up for a long time when it comes to this whole abortion thing. Europe doesn't really have this argument.
No.
This is a uniquely American
It
argument.
is. It is.
Like hardly any other parts of the world have any sort like abortion divides like our politics here in the States along party lines on that issue. Hard party lines.
Right.
Europe, it's basically just that, you can get one. It's strongly discouraged in most instances
And
if
it's
it's
highly
if it's
regulated.
elective. Yes, and it's highly regulated, and there's no such thing. It's basically first term, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's up to a certain amount in most European countries, up to a certain amount of weeks, and then after that, there are no more chances for abortion.
Okay, but with the argument of abortion, here's my other thought on it. We have the health department. We have multiple things set up to where that you can go to
Sure.
your health care provider. You can get birth control. You can go to the health department and get condoms.
Yes.
You can take a day after pill.
Oh yeah. There's a
There
million
is
different
so
types of
many
contraceptives.
things to stop that.
Uh-huh.
If you're pregnant and 16 weeks along, and then you're like, I don't want a kid, how did you get to that point?
Yeah, and see that's where the nuance in the argument comes from. It's not. I mean, sure. I will say, killing children, killing babies, taking a human life is wrong, and no matter what the pro-abortion side said about things, it's not a clump of cells. It is a human fetus. That's not good. We're taking this is a topic that needs to be discussed and needs to be discussed ad nauseum. But we have to come to the same argument. We got to come to the table with the same arguments, or we got to be arguing the same thing. We can't be having two separate arguments. And I mean, one side's screaming at the other, "Oh, it's my right to do with my body what I want." The other is screaming to the other side, "This is a human life. Don't kill it." Okay, those are two separate
It's
arguments.
two sets
to
of
be had.
people in a room
Yeah.
looking at a giraffe and saying it's a donkey, it's a horse, and it's neither one of them.
Right. Yeah, essentially, yes. That's not even the argument. It's not even
Right.
you're arguing apples and oranges.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You're arguing apples and oranges. So, until we recognize that and actually have the same discussion,
Yeah.
it'll never be solved.
Right.
Well, and it's very odd. I will say, good Lord, we don't need to get into more. We'll be here all night. We'll be here all night. So let's don't even go down that path. But I don't know. It's interesting, though, how social issues divide this country way more than they do most
It's
other
all by
countries.
design.
Yeah,
It's
I
all by
know.
design.
That's exactly what it is. And if you think you're not being played in a game, you need to open your eyes because it's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, we're being played. They're distracting us while we're fighting about, and largely the ruling elites don't give two shits about abortion. They don't give two shits about trans people. They don't give two shits about the LGBT community. No. They don't give two shits about human rights. They're too busy stuffing their pockets and their bank accounts. That's all they care about.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
Full stop.
Today's April
Full
Fool's
stop.
Day. I saw somebody on Twitter was like, "Here, I'll get." It was the Babylon Bee. They were like, in the biggest April Fool's joke of all. Congress says they're really working together to do what's right for the American people, or something of that effect. I thought that was really good. I'm telling you, they have out-onioned the onion.
They have. They're great. I love the Babylon Bee. And dude, the Barack got pissed at them because they were poking fun at their own. Did you see that the other day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They
Oh, they go after everybody. I like
Yeah.
that.
Isn't that
and it's
what
genuinely
news-
funny satire.
It is
That's
hilarious.
that's what news is supposed to be. You're not right. You're not left. You just look at things and say, "That's dumb," and that's dumb. And poke fun at different things,
Yep.
or just cover stories on different things until it alludes to the actual truth.
Yeah, I agree, but we definitely don't do that anymore.
No. I just finished Jonathan Haidt's episode with Rogan. Last night I finished up Riley Gaines' episode with Rogan.
Riley Gaines was very interesting.
Dude, that was awesome. That was a great.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, you need to. It's good. I'm a big fan.
I
And
actually
Joe was so high during that interview.
Darren Riley Gaines,
Dude, he was
baked, huh?
baked.
he was toasted. But I actually sat down after I watched that with Joe Rogan, and I watched her address. Was it the Senate?
Yeah, the Senate hearing
And,
committee.
For her to be the age that she is, and you can tell that she's educated, but just the way that she went in there and she defended what she believed, and how that she articulated herself and used her words and knew where to attack, what to attack, how to see things. And it wasn't even really an attack. She was just speaking how she felt.
Right.
I was blown away by how strong of a person that she was.
Sure.
And she was standing up there doing something and speaking about something to where that she had been held hostage before.
Yeah.
She had
In
she
San
had been
Francisco.
ridiculed. They had, pretty much tormented her. They had stood outside of hotel rooms and made fun of her. And through all of this, I really do feel like she's come out on top. She has a voice
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you've seen a lot with athletes when it comes to this type of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Again, we talk about comics being on the cutting edge of like societal change. Now,
Yes.
athletes are beginning to
Uh-huh.
be that way too, and it's athletes are a unique breed because for a lot, take like an MMA fighter or somebody that's played in the NFL, for like Aaron Rodgers or somebody. The amount of discipline that you have to
Right.
have. Not only discipline it's discipline in your entire life.
Yes.
Financial discipline, physical discipline,
Right.
discipline to work out all the time, to
Right.
make sure that when you're a world-class athlete, like a lot
Yes.
of these people are, the age-old thing, oh, you're just a dumb jock. Well, just the sheer fact that you were able to make it in professional sports should say something. And I love that these people are coming to the forefront and being like, hey, they're finally starting to stand up for themselves.
I mean, if you want to say dumb jock, can I just Michael Jordan? How much money is he worth?
Yeah, a lot,
Shaquille O'Neal, how much money is he worth?
a lot.
Shannon Sharp, how much money is he worth?
Right.
These people are stupid.
No.
They're not. Steve.
Not even a little bit.
You're talking about people who are very well educated because they went through college, through the sport that they was in order to get into a professional level. 90% of the time, that's the way that it works. And you're talking about people who are business majors and who even have doctorates and who have spent their entire life playing a sport, but they're also business people.
You see a lot of people go on to do really well. Look at Pat McAfee. What the empire that he's created. He's taken over ESPN.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He came from they wouldn't give him the time of day.
Yeah.
As coming out, he was the Colts punter. They wouldn't accept him in any broadcast school. That's all he wanted to do. So he's like, well, fuck it. I'm going to go do it on my own on the internet.
Yep.
And has literally taken over sports media.
Yeah.
I'm a sports media guy, but if you're in the sports media world, wrestling,
Yeah.
any of that, Pat McAfee is the belle of the ball right now, and
Yeah.
a good guy too.
Yeah.
In all appearances, for all I can tell, the guy is just a genuine
And
blue collar, come from nothing success story.
He has to be.
Yeah.
And the reason why that he has to be is because he is so powerful now. If there was anybody out there who could dig up dirt on him, it'd already be on
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolute
Oh, yeah.
sure.
That's the thing. I would say it would already be on the table, but as you've seen with the whole P Diddy thing that's been going
Golly,
on.
what a disaster that is.
Yeah.
You know, that's somebody who us as youth,
Mm-hmm.
he was huge. Everybody knew the name. You knew what Sean John Close was. You
Yeah,
knew-
yeah.
I mean, and his songs were staples and everything else. But whenever he is. I don't know what's happened, but he stepped on the wrong toes somewhere, and somebody wanted to devastate him.
P. Diddy?
Yeah.
I would say he probably started stepping on toes when he was trafficking children for sex.
Yeah.
That's probably
But
a
I
good
mean,
place to start.
How many years has this been going on multicultural throughout the rhythm of time? But he was doing something that was wrong in every way on every single level that he was doing. But usually people who are that powerful, they have to turn the heads and disrupt something that is more powerful than them in order to take the fall.
What I heard was somebody was saying, I heard on one podcast that they knew some people that had been to the Diddy parties and were, you know, they were like, look, we never saw anything super crazy, but like it definitely got wild.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people saying that he had everybody on camera. And so I think this is another one of those Epstein situations where he was basically
Right.
catching people in compromising positions
Extorting them.
for either influence or money or whatever, and probably was doing some other. This sounds like a classic
Yeah.
Epstein situation again.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Puffy like ran the rap industry for a long time, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's kind of fallen out over the last some years, at least. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like giant hip hop.
Right.
I don't
Me
keep
neither.
up with the hip hop scene or anything, but
I mean,
You know.
so
I don't
much
either.
so whenever they was talking about Meek Mills, I was like, Meek who?
yeah, yeah, I know. I don't really know who
Well,
that is.
they released a list of all the people that are compromised with him. I can pull it up if you
But
like.
Sure, let's go.
I know.
look at
One
the-
of them. One of them is
Diddy
is-
list.
Yeah, one of them is J Lo.
J-Lo?
I didn't see her name on there.
She is. They brought her name up because where that apparently there was the nightclub thing that happened so
Right.
many years ago, and a lady got shot, and then they had to go to court, and then it was thrown out of court, I think, or he was exonerated in some way from it. And now it's come back up. New evidence has been attained about it, and they're talking about indicting her and him to reopen that case again.
Wow.
So
Good
even
grief, dude.
she's being thrown.
Well, you know,
thrown into
something's crazy is happening when the feds are literally circling your house
Raiding.
with helicopters.
not house, homes.
Yeah.
They're
like-
going home.
I mean, they were bringing his like family and friends out in handcuffs. I mean, taking papers out. I mean, it's like a full-on Fed raid. I have a friend of mine who told me that he worked at the country club where not the Epstein guy? What was the guy that ran Bernie Madoff, the Ponzi
Bernie
scheme?
Madoff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he worked at a country club where Bernie Madoff was one of the prominent members, and that he went in for breakfast service one morning at the country club, and he said I usually got out of there maybe around 10:30, come outside and take a smoke break or whatever. He's like, I come outside. He's like, in the clubhouse, I guess, is right on the Intercoastal. He said, I hear helicopters going. He said, I look over and there's like police, like FBI boats coming up the Intercoastal. And he's like, what in the hell's going on? And they're like, oh, Bernie Madoff's house is getting raided. Like, he's like, it was wild. He said looked like you stepped out into like a Grand Theft Auto scene or
crazy.
something. You know? Like,
So
it's
here's
just
a list of all the people that are named in the Diddy case
Put
since
it
the
on the
raid.
screen, J-Mo.
It is. It's
Yeah.
on the screen. Sorry, the transition of me getting on the screen may have been a little shaky. Sorry about that, everybody. Yep. Normally, I'm not the producer. Our producer is incapacitated at the moment. So we got Stevie J, Stephen Arnold Jordan, a music producer and television personality.
No idea.
A redacted name of Philadelphia rapper named Nicki Minaj, or who dated Nicki Minaj. Sorry, I can't read. Grammy Award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement after assaulting a Bajan millionaire whose name was also redacted. Young Miami.
No idea.
Prince Harry.
No idea.
I heard that one.
You know who Prince Harry is?
Prince
weird.
Harry.
Yeah, Prince Harry.
From England.
From England, the Prince.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
wow.
a rapper, Prince Harry. I guess you just thought it was a
I see
rapper.
where you were going. I see what you're thinking.
Okay, Prince Harry, Bishop T.D. Jakes,
Yeah.
Cassie Ventura, a singer and dancer, Georgia Mass Choir, Donald Lawrence, the Clark Sisters, Smokey Norfolk, Fahim Muhammad, DeForest Taylor, I assume, and Jose Cruz. That's what they have listed.
So these are just people that were allegedly named in the court filings, right?
Let's see here.
Not necessarily implicated, but named in the court filings.
A number of celebrities appeared in the court filings made in connection with music producer Rodney Jones' $30 million lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs. Jones filed his lawsuit on February 26, making a number of accusations against Combs, including sexual misconduct and grooming. Jones has also accused Combs of participating in sex trafficking activities. Jones filing to the federal district court in New York lists in detail his allegations, with one section claiming that Combs Music Industry associates, who were also named in the lawsuit, financially benefited from facilitating his alleged unlawful behavior. So these are people, I guess, who benefited.
Yeah, they
from
was
the
named
behavior.
in.
Yeah, they were. So, where did Chase run off to? You have to go to the bathroom. Chase leave.
Oh, he went to get a drink.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. But yeah,
I you know, the thing about it is it's all celebrities, and unless you're a comedian, Joe Rogan,
Right.
and a handful of other people, as far as celebrities go, I don't really keep up with you. I don't care about your lives. I don't care about what you're doing. I am small town America, so
But Jerry, these people are important.
they're not.
They say so.
That's
I know.
That's why that we got off last time about talking about social media and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much devoided everything to do with social media except for a Facebook Messenger. And
Right.
my life is better.
I think I'm going to start using the Joe Rogan approach, which is post and ghost. So you post whatever you want to post,
And then just don't read the comments on it.
never look at it again. Just keep it just to post things, and that's it. I think that's where I'm going to go with it, because that seems to be the case, especially knowing that, like, I think it was like 30 or 40%, and maybe higher than that. Chase, do you remember what the percentage of Twitter accounts are bots? Wasn't it like some astronomically high account?
80%.
80% of them. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Listen, I believe that.
I do too. 100% I believe that.
I don't have one person that I know, I think, that follows me on Twitter.
I think I follow you.
He
I
don't
think I
know.
do.
Yeah, I think you do.
I think I do. I don't know. I may not.
But like, I guarantee if you looked at both of the people that follow me, it's 40,000 like scantily clad women
Same.
pics that joined
Same,
3
yeah.
months ago, and are either since inactive or don't have any other posts but an OnlyFans link.
Instagram is quickly becoming the same way. That's mostly who engages with my Instagram. It's all scantily clad women who want you to visit the spicy link.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they do that just to poison the pool.
Poison the well.
Yeah, they come out and they inject this ideology, and it looks like real people injecting the ideology, and in all actuality, it's not real people at all, and they can push whatever agenda that they want to, because if enough bots say, "Hey, this is the right way to think," weak-minded people will follow suit.
Well, not even weak-minded people. Just people who, I mean, they're like, yeah, I agree with that.
How does it make you feel though to know in the past you've probably argued with a bot?
I don't argue on Twitter. Now that's one place I do post and ghost.
Oh, I do too. I've
I
never
have.
once looked at my replies or
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, if you want to contact me, I do have a Facebook Messenger, and if you know my number, you can text me. That's about it.
I like it, man. Like it. I'm telling you, it's crazy to have a online platform
Yeah.
nowadays comes with a lot of risk.
So, after listening, I've been a fan of Jonathan Haidt for a long time. After listening to his interview with Rogan today, so he's wrote a new book, and I've got to check it out. I'm gonna listen to it.
And this is the guy this is the kind of white-haired guy.
Yeah. He's
Okay.
a social psychologist. He was the chair of psychology at New York University. He's a psychology professor. He wrote The Coddling of the American Mind. He studied, let's see, what was it? Specifically, he studied disgust and the emotions that went along with disgust. But anyway, he's wrote a new book, and I want to check it out. Now I forgot what it was, but that's okay. Everybody should go check out his book. I'll look it up in a minute and find out what it is. Hang on.
Yeah, I really like a lot of the people that he has come on there that have like a different thought pattern, a different agenda. Like they're thinking outside of the box. They're looking at things in a different way, and it's pretty important and special for us to have people that will step outside of the box and not be like left is right and right is right and so on and so forth. They're like, well, what about this thought?
Right.
Or
what's
thought?
the truth, or what's the nuance behind this thing
let's
that we
dig
haven't?
into it.
Yeah, and that's very refreshing, and that was part of the reason me and Josh started this whole thing. Is that we felt like that was needed on a local level.
Yeah.
And I feel like I feel like this is the future. Honestly,
I do too.
I really do.
I do too.
I mean, just look at every day that I drive in this area, and I look at these mountains, and I look at these beautiful streams that we've got, and all the resources that we have here. Man, I'm thankful to be here.
Yeah.
I really am. Like to my core. I know that it's a small town, and people tend to gossip and talk amongst each other and come up with crazy ideology a lot of times, and some of it has fruit to it, but most of it is just people talking.
Right.
But for us to understand the beauty of the process of what that we have, where that we live at.
I agree. There's something to be said for a small town. While in a big city you get that you're a fish in a large pond there.
Yeah.
And you get the anonymity that goes on along with that. You definitely living in a small town get a lot more people talking about you, especially if you put your face and your name out there at all.
Yeah,
to do anything, to run a business, to do a podcast, to do anything. Like we were just talking about that before we got on here, but there's also the other cool thing that comes along with living in a small town. It was like I go and it's the same people that bag my groceries. A lot of the people at the convenience store know what you want before you even get to the counter. Like the people at the drive-through know what you're going to order before you order it.
Yeah.
Like, so there's something to be said for that. And I like that. Like, and I have a guy for everything. Have you ever noticed?
Yeah.
I've got a tire guy.
Yeah, same.
I've got a shirt guy.
Yeah, it's like
You got a mechanic.
Yes, I've got Al. I've got a shipping guy that ships my stuff.
Yeah, Big Al.
Yeah.
Well, it's and you watch people grow. It's like, these police officers were bagging our groceries 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sorry.
Again, that might be a downside. That might be a downside.
I could have. Okay, so this may be a good segue into talking about this. So, the anxious generation. Here is what Jonathan Haidt is writing about. The Anxious Generation, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt lays out the facts about the epidemic of teen mental illness that hit many countries at the same time. He investigates the nature of childhood, including why children need play and independent exploration to mature into competent, thriving adults. Haidt shows how the quote play-based quote childhood began to decline in the 1980s and how it was finally wiped out by the arrival of phone-based childhood in the early 2010s. He presents more than a dozen mechanisms by which this great rewiring of childhood has interfered with the children's social and neurological development, covering everything from sleep deprivation to attention fragmentation, addiction, loneliness, social contagion, social comparison, and perfectionism. This is why we see 11-year-old girls buying fucking skin wrinkle cream at Sephora. It's batshit crazy that we have gotten here.
And it's all for the sake of advertisement.
But anyway,
but I mean, if you put it down to where that you make people, you have something that people don't need, and you keep telling them that they do need it, and then you get people latched in to be like, hey, I actually do need this. And then those people tell other people you need this.
Well, and maybe some people do need skin wrinkle cream. Okay,
absolutely,
but not
an
teenage
11-year-old.
girls.
No.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, we paint a picture of perfection. That's through your filters and things of that.
Oh, don't get me
nature.
started on filters.
Dude, there are people that we all know that I don't think have ever posted an unfiltered picture on social media.
They've
and
not.
I don't know how you keep up that thing. And then, now I've seen a couple people, and you guys, you know who you are. You know who you are. They are running their shit through AI.
Oh, dude,
now,
it looks
and trying to pass it off like it's actually them. I'm like,
right. Come on,
Guys.
Really?
Come on, it's not cute.
No, it's not. And this is overwhelming a phenomenon that that girls do, especially young girls and females. But I'm seeing more guys do it now too, and it's like,
I seen a dude the other day that had posted a picture, and he was using one of the glam filters, and he had long eyebrows. I was like,
oh, like lashes out to here.
yeah, and he's like the straightest dude you could ever ask for, and I was like, I kind of want to send him a message and say something about this, but it might be mean.
Well, and who knows? Maybe he was just taking a piss and he thought it was funny.
Right.
I mean, there's that because I could see myself doing that, being like, "Don't I look so pretty?"
Right.
But
You are pretty, Josh.
thank you, Chase. You are too.
You're a sweet boy.
I am a sweet boy.
You are a sweet boy.
You're one hunk of a man.
Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
No, no, going back to the title of the book's The Anxious Generation, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That increasingly, and I don't know why I've just ran into this several times in the last few weeks in conversations with people or other friends. Buddy, they're everybody and we were talking about this on the last podcast about your medicine too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
We can go back into that.
Yeah, maybe
too,
we can talk about it.
Sure.
But God, everybody I know is on fucking SSRIs
I know.
or like.
Not everybody,
Yeah, I know. I'm not either. I've been, like I got
Okay.
scared off of them. But Josh you're coming off of
Yes.
some right now.
Yes,
and how's
I
it
am.
going?
So today's been a great day. Yesterday was probably the worst day I've had yet.
Right.
I was ready to burn the world down yesterday when I got home from
Is
work.
that clock tower looking more? And
It
more?
was yesterday, for real. Like, if I still had my Uzi, there would have been no safe clock tower anywhere. But I sold my Uzi a long time ago, so it was legally owned. There, Mr. ATF, if you're listening. Today's been the best day yet. I felt good today. Of course, I did get an adequate amount of sleep last night. But so for those of you who don't know, I've been on Paxil since 2018, 40 milligrams, which is a pretty high dose. Usually they start you at like 10, and I think I started at 10, then went to 20, then went to 40.
Right.
I'm at 40 now, and I've weaned myself down to 20. And I've only halved it only halved my dosage. So I've had a couple of brain zaps today, but not like I have. Yesterday was really bad. But the whole
Sorry.
no, it's fine.
I'm not laughing at you. I just every time you bring up the clock tower thing, I think about that King of the Hill episode where Dale is in the clock tower and Boomhauer's like, "Gotta get out dang old tower, man." Every time I was laughing about that when I was thinking about it the last time. Sorry, go ahead. I'm not laughing at your mental conditions, Josh. I'm sorry.
I am. Oh my gosh. Okay, so since I've had time to reflect a little more about my time spent on SSRIs, so I guess I was put on it as an anti-anxiety medicine, and it's for people, I guess, seemingly who have an emotional range of like this, right?
Right.
So, and it's to bring it closer to this,
Right.
a little further together. Well, my emotional range was already like this, so it brought it to this.
Right. Just where you didn't.
I didn't care about anything.
Right.
And that led to some very interesting behavior on my part. It led to a lot of really reckless behavior, reckless spending.
Yeah, no shit. It seems like I saw some deadly snakes out there that you got.
Yeah. Now, that was coming regardless.
No, you're very responsible.
Yeah, that was coming
I've said that
regardless.
ad nauseum.
No,
But tell people how you got on it in the first
Okay,
place,
yeah.
or why you got on
Sure,
it. Yeah.
sure. So I got on it because in 2018 I was diagnosed with stage 3 renal cell cancer, and that's kidney cancer. So I have stage 3 kidney cancer, and I was told initially, because the overwhelming majority of kidney cancers are a type of cancer called clear cell renal cell carcinoma. Clear cell is a death sentence. It's only got like It's got like a 97 to 98% mortality rate. So basically, I was told I had about 2 years left to live with treatment. So there was that whole roller coaster. Then I went through the surgeries. I started treatments and stuff, and the surgical treatments. And pathology came back. It wasn't clear cell. It was a subtype called chromophobe cell renal cell carcinoma, which has a much higher survival rate, a much lower mortality rate. So I was like, okay, you're not going to die. So that was an emotional roller coaster. And then after I had a lung surgery on my lung, because there was a nodule on my lung that we wanted to just go ahead and take out. There was some complications after my surgery, and I died for 5 minutes. Complete asystolic arrest. So I went to the other side, the next plane of existence, for a little while, for about 5 minutes. And after all of that, I had just a little bit of anxiety. So I went to my doctor.
Why?
So
Why?
Why?
right.
Why?
So I went to my. Right. If I was a real man,
I like that.
I would have been fine. I
Yeah.
just went outside and kicked a tree and been like, all right, let's
Yeah,
go.
sure.
But
All that to say, you had just cause to be anxious.
so I had just a little bit of anxiety,
Yeah.
to the tune of it causing me physiological symptoms. Like I was spending nights in the hospital because my resting heart rate would get down in the 30s because it was doing some crazy shit to my body. All these
Right.
panic attacks were.
Sure.
So I went to my doctor and I was like, hey, doc, can you help me? And he was like, sure. So he wrote me a prescription for Paxil, and I took it. About 2 weeks later, I was like, this is the answer. I feel so much better.
Right.
And I took it until I'm still taking it now, but I took, and I did raise the dosage. We raised the dosage a couple of times because we felt like it could be doing more. And every time we raised the dosage, it did do more and it did better. Until about a year ago,
You
started.
You flatlined on it.
Well, I'd been flatlined the whole time, but I started to realize about a year ago that I wasn't experiencing any emotions, whether negative nor positive. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was just merely existing. I was in a relationship that ended that was almost 10 years. It was like, meh, whatever. My grandmother died. I was like, I'm sad, but I don't feel sad. And I was like, this is not right. This is not how a human being is supposed to function emotionally.
Right.
And I started seeing a therapist and doing, psychotherapy and dealing with a lot of things. And it's like, okay, I think maybe, just maybe, not that, it doesn't absolve me of any agency in my decisions over the past 6 years or whatever, 5 years. But I'm sure having been on a drug so powerful that it made me feel zero emotion whatsoever probably led to me making decisions I wouldn't have made otherwise had I not been on this drug. So I decided to, of course, with the guidance of my psychiatrist and my therapist, we decided to wean off of them.
So you started seeing the destructive nature of your own thought process.
Oh yeah, for sure. And therapy was great for that. It was fantastic for that. So I'm a huge proponent of therapy. Huge proponent. If you need to see somebody, by all means, please see somebody.
And there's no doubt. I mean, in that situation, 100%. I mean, I feel where you're coming from 100%. I mean, it sounds to me like it helped. It fixed the problem.
It did fix the problem.
Except it almost fixed it a little too much.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. It did fix the problem, and SSRIs are great for a short amount of time.
Right.
Had I took them until I was able to process everything that happened, deal with it, and then move on, or not really move on, but, deal with it internally and externally. Right. I feel like that would have been the healthier way to do it, but I didn't because I didn't feel I needed to.
So what you just said, internalizing things, processing them, and dealing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that America tends to do now, especially through psychiatrists, psychiatry, just in general across the board, is they sell you a pill and they're like, hey, this will make you happy.
That's modern medicine anyway.
Yeah, but where the issue lays at is it is a normal learning human function for us to feel sad, for us to feel happy, for us to go through things, for us to learn about ourselves. And through that process, we become the people that we are.
Sure.
It makes you strong.
Sure.
Being drugged down to the bottom rung and building your own self up. I don't inflict too much into where that I come from as far as being raised in the latter part of my life, but like you hear a lot of people now where that they say this happened to me 25 years ago. And they're still talking about it.
Yeah, it's like, I hear a lot. And I know, in particular, childhood trauma can be a lifetime kind of thing to deal with. And I get that 100%.
Right.
Like, those scars are long healing scars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree. I hear a lot of people, it's like, oh, my grandma died 10 years ago and I still hadn't got over it. Well, okay. I'm sorry for your grandmother.
Yeah.
But it was 10 years ago, and she was your grandmother. She was 85.
Right.
She's going to die.
Yeah.
Like, death is just an everyday part of things. And I often wonder in situations like that, if it's not, I'm sure it messed you up. People dying.
Sure.
People mean deeply, things to people, and I'm sure it can mess you up short term, but good Lord, if you haven't moved on in 10 years,
Well,
I just can't bother to think about my poodle, John Boy, died 5 years ago, and I'm like, and you're on like Klonopin for that. You're like, what are you,
maybe it's one of those things where that I'm just built differently, maybe, but to deal with what I dealt with growing up is there was alcoholism, there was drugs, there was sexual abuse, there was gambling, there was people cutting each other, there was people shooting at each other. I could just go on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But what I done was I seen the way that my family acted and went, I think I can do better than that.
I'll be honest with you, Jerry. A lot of the more well-adjusted people I know are people that come out of situations like that.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes the ones that are like can't handle
Yeah.
anything are the ones that had the most coddled childhoods and coddled life experience. It's
Right.
like you're so fragile because you've never lived in a
if
pressure-packed situation or
Right.
been,
Well, and we got to be careful here too because
Yeah, we're not-
everybody's different. Yeah.
we're not painting
No, I
broad
know.
generalizations. I'm
That's
just
why
talking
that
about
I'm saying
yeah.
maybe I'm just
Well,
built
Right,
different.
right.
Well, everybody is that. That was my point. Everybody's different. Everybody processes things different. Everybody's brain is a little bit different.
Of course.
You take for instance, you are like, or me, I'm like, okay, well, I couldn't imagine, how somebody could, experience psychopathy and kill a whole bunch of people, in some kind of weird, crazy way.
Right.
Well, that's because they have a completely different brain physiologically. They've had something so traumatic happen to them in their childhood, or they were just born with this, abnormality in their brain, whatever it was. Something didn't, their prefrontal cortex didn't develop fully, whatever it was. Everybody is different. Everybody experiences life different. So I try to be very careful. And even though, to me, it may seem silly that someone's upset that their dog died 15 years ago and they still talk about it. But, to them, that may have been their entire world. It's just...
Well, I mean, it comes down to... I heard this quote a while back. I've heard it in multiple different times, but whatever is the worst thing that has ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true. That's very true.
It is.
I mean,
for sure.
and there's
But-
no discounting that,
Yeah.
but I just question whether.
Well, going back to that though, with all of those terrible things that happened to me,
Yeah.
the McKinney side of my family is a great set of people, and my dad, who
You're
raised
damn right
me,
we are.
was was a very good man, and he taught me morals. He taught me a belief system. He taught me how to be a man. And my dad died whenever I was super young. But even through me being that young, he gave me those basic principles. And I think that through all of the horrible things from about 12 to about 16 years old, 17 years old that I went through, that those core examples that he give to me whenever I was that young, that it bled over. And
Sure.
it completely overlapped all of the bad trauma.
Well,
happened.
that's because you
Right.
were given a good foundation in your raising. When you have to introduce children to these very important foundations early on. Whatever it is that you feel like is a good foundation for them to become a good, productive member of society. Like reading on here about Jonathan Haidt's book, most important, Haidt issues a clear call to action. He diagnoses the, quote, collective action problems that trap us and then proposes 4 simple rules that might set us free. He describes steps that parents, teachers, schools, tech companies, and governments can take to end the epidemic of mental illness and restore a more humane childhood. And listening to his podcast on Rogan, he really went into the different social norms that he would like to see get brought back, and it all falls on the parent.
Yeah.
It all falls on the parent.
Well, I mean, what are you supposed to do now? Everybody screams about Generation Z or whatever. Well, hell, dude, their dad was on drugs and gone half the time driving a truck, and their
Right.
mom's trans now or whatever. So
Right.
It's like just give the baby kids a little bit,
Yeah.
like they probably their parents suck because
Yeah.
guess who their parents are?
Us.
Our generation.
Yep.
And I hate to say it, I know a lot of good
Yeah.
people, but there are also a lot of very
Yeah.
messed up ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, even within this county, just bringing it back to small town, within this county, there are our drug epidemic is still huge,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
and you have a lot of good programs that are out there that are, from what I've seen, really starting to help people. And then you have programs that are under smoke and mirrors and under, they appear on the outside that they're there to help people, but their restrictions are so slim that the people who get into those programs can easily screw up and be kicked out of the programs, and those are the very people who need the help.
Well, there's a friend of mine who was battling an addiction a few years ago, and I was like, okay, I'm in a pretty comfortable place, like financially. I'm going to help you with this. They wanted help. They legit wanted to get clean, and they did. They did wind up getting clean, for the record. So I started calling around to some different treatment facilities, inpatient facilities, and I was like, hey, I'm talking with this person. They were wanting to get help. I was going to, try and kind of help them start this, so start the process. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, that's great. Here's what we offer. Here's everything on our website. Go to here and check all our information out, see our facility, and if you want to come tour it, that's fine. And I'm like, okay, so how much is a usually, like, well, an inpatient treatment usually starts at about $10,500. What?
And that's probably for a week.
Yeah,
a week.
That was for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
So almost $1,000
Yeah.
a day.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Damn, we're in the wrong profession. That and wedding
No
photography
shit.
are the two ones we need to. I know.
Dude,
Why the hell are we doing a fucking podcast?
No, man. The wedding photography is flooded by hot chicks with cameras. Any fucking hot chick with a camera now is a photographer.
That's what I'm saying. All you have to do is have an iPhone and blonde hair and a big ass, and you are
nowhere
cleaning
near.
up at the wedding photography
We're
industry.
nowhere near hot enough to be wedding
Dude,
photographers.
when I remember
know.
the last
I
time,
feel
this
like-
was years ago. Last time I got there, like, yeah, our packages start at $7,000. I'm like, what? $7,000?
Right.
It's like, did you go to school for this? And they're like, no. Well, no.
And that's just to take pictures at a wedding, not to cure someone of a heroin addiction.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on with us? What are we doing?
Yeah,
I don't know,
I
man.
truly do believe that I could get you a nice wig, and you could get shaved up. We could put you out there, man.
Dude, I'm telling you. I'm so broke right now. I went and got a freaking pedicure last week. I can put my feet on the internet.
Do it. Do it.
I'm telling you. We can shine up, Josh.
You know what we could do? We could get AI to create some awesome scantily clad pictures of this woman that doesn't exist and make her an OnlyFans.
That's a great idea.
That is a pretty solid idea.
You know that.
Yeah, you know that happens.
You know that happens.
God, we could be millionaires overnight.
40
I think we could.
accounts
Yeah,
a day.
yeah.
You just pump 40 accounts. a
Yeah,
day
all we have to
out.
do is just create a whole bunch of pictures and content use AI, and
That's a pretty good idea.
I'm probably going to edit this out because I don't want other people to do it. We may actually.
I'm going to go start this tonight. Mid-journey, here I come, baby. That's a great idea.
Um,
Then you don't even have to worry about like sex, or you can treat
No.
them however you want. Don't have to
Yeah.
pay them nothing.
They're not real.
Yeah.
They're not real. They're fig Newtons of their.
Yeah, you don't
your
even feel bad
imagination.
because they're
No.
just yeah.
No, they're not real.
That's awesome. We're not even exploiting anybody.
No, we're not.
Sexploitation free.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
you just might have made $1 million thought right there.
And then what we do is we start putting like
Like branding in it.
branding. in. Shout out Prime.
Not a
Jake
sponsor.
Paul. No, actually, no free shout outs.
No,
You got to pay us.
I'll bill him next week.
Yeah. Bill Jack Paul up for it.
Our advertising
Paul,
packages
or-
start at $7,000.
Yeah. Our advertising packages start at $7,000.
Wedding picture packages started also $7,000.
$7,000.
Hey, we'll podcast your wedding for you.
Yeah. Live play by play.
We'll commentate on it and everything.
Yeah.
We'll do sports commentation on your wedding.
Right. That's
can't believe she's wearing that white dress. She's got more mileage on her than a 1974 Toyota.
Oh, here she comes down the aisle. It looks like she's going to make a good play today. She's
Yeah. He looks scared to death.
What is it the local broadcast guy says in the football games? It's third down in a country mile.
Oh my God.
but
That wedding train's longer than a country mile.
SSRIs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you had your own experience with something similar, didn't you?
Oh yeah,
With
yeah.
addiction, yeah.
Yeah, I played the role of addiction to a fault of my own and no fault of my own at the same time. I got hurt and went to the doctor, and the doctor hooked me up with prescription pain pills whenever I was 18 years old. And
How did it originally? I don't think I asked you the last time because we talked about this in the
I
last.
wrecked a motorcycle
Wrecked a motorcycle. Okay.
and messed up my leg pretty bad.
You and everybody we know is involved in horrible.
I know.
Have you been in this
No.
many horrible accidents?
No, I've
No,
never.
he just had his kidney and half
Yeah.
his lung cut out. I mean,
Yeah.
Mine-
No. Well, I mean, you've had some
Mine wasn't an accident.
shit happen.
Yeah, I've
for
had
sure.
some shit happen, but it wasn't just like a car didn't hit me.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Jimmy's got hit by like 7 cars
I
and
know.
flew off a motorcycle. He,
Yeah.
Yeah. Fell off a train.
Yeah.
Jumped out of an airplane.
I just got a little cancer.
Yeah. Just a little.
Just a little cancer.
Just a little cancer. Just, I got a touch of the cancer.
But see, but yeah, I got hurt, crashed a motorcycle, and doctor ended up putting me on pain pills whenever I was in the hospital. I got out of the hospital, and they had me on a 240 script of oxycodone a week or a month.
Was it a pretty bad accident?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so I mean, you
It
were pretty
my
messed up.
MCL, ACL, LCL.
Ooh.
And,
Same knee.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And the ball socket to the top of my knee was completely. It had a crack that went all the way around it, and it tore every ligament and everything. that I had.
Everything you possibly could. Yeah.
I had a lung tube put in.
Dude, chest tubes, because I've experienced that too. And let me just say, fuck chest tubes. That is the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life.
So because you were getting fluid on your lungs, they had to.
Yeah, I had
Go
a,
in
I had
and
a
relieve the pressure.
punctured lung from broken.
Yeah,
ribs.
so punctured lungs, and collapsed lungs, what they do is your lungs don't inflate. They're it's
Right, because
negative
they're-
pressure.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so they do inflate, but they don't just there's not a muscle that makes them inflate.
Right.
So when there's positive pressure in there, your lung can't inflate. So they have to insert a tube to relieve that pressure, so your lung
So
can,
your lung can
so your lung
function.
can function. And yeah, dude, I feel for you there. It's
And-
literally a garden
and-
hose coming out of your chest.
Yeah, and then after we got out of the hospital, I went back home. Had a long recovery time. Had my leg in a brace for forever, and they just kept feeding
Pumping
me
you
these
the
pain pills. And you got to
oxycodone.
realize this was 1998.
So those things hadn't been around
No,
long at that
no,
point. So
and
they
they was just pumping them to me, and I went to the doctor. It was about 6 months after everything had happened. I had come out of the brace and everything, and I could walk. I couldn't walk real well, but I could walk at that point. But I was
Right.
still in a lot of pain, and they said that I had like quite a bit of nerve damage from it too. And I was, even through all of the pills and everything, at the first, whenever I went through it, I still felt pain.
sure.
And they was prescribing me extra pain medicine for what they called breakthrough pain. And so I was getting my 240 script of medicine, plus I was getting extra pain
Right.
pills on top of that. That was a different kind of pain pill. That if I had breakthrough pain, I could take those and it would mellow the pain out.
Right. So it's that thing like I was talking about the last time. Like I think I said that. Like it's just like with the stress on anxiety medication.
Yeah.
Pain is the body's it's the body's reaction to negative stimulus.
Yeah.
So the idea is not to not feel any pain.
Yeah, and that's bad.
Yeah.
You need to feel pain.
Yeah, you absolutely need to feel pain.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess so. The idea is like with surgicals and surgeries and injuries and stuff. Like, yeah, pain is your body's signal that something's gone wrong. But if you know something's gone wrong already and it's being treated, then you want to minimize the pain. But so I guess it's to say you don't want to like take painkillers all the time just in case you hurt.
Well, that's what it becomes over
It-
time.
Absolutely, because what that they was doing to me is, I was taking 4 perk 10s a day, which most people be like, 4 perk 10s ain't that big of a deal, because nowadays people are on so much medicine, it's unreal. So I was taking that medicine, and I went to the doctor one day, and he said, "You don't need it anymore." Took me completely off of it, and I went home, and I started sweating. My heart was racing 100 miles an hour, then it'd drop off. Had crazy thoughts running through my head. Couldn't sleep. It felt like somebody was pulsing electricity through my body.
And this was how many years you'd been on it at that point?
I'd just been on it for like 5 to 6 months.
Oh, okay. So it's not even.
No.
Yeah.
And I went back to the doctor the next morning, and he turned me away and said, "There's nothing that we can do for you." And they treated me at that point like I was a junkie. They created my addiction and then treated me like I was a junkie after they created it. So what choices do you have after that happens? At this point in time, there was no methadone clinics.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing other than drug dealers. So in order to be in that club, you have to be part of that club at that point in time. And I mentioned earlier, growing up in a bad setting, in a bad environment, and that type of thing plays a endemic role on whenever you get put into a situation like that. I already have people within that circle that I could be like, "Hey, I can't get my pain pills anymore and I need help." Well, within half an hour, I had what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is for that period of time, I wasn't working. And I didn't have any money. So if you don't have any money, and you're having to then supply an addiction that was handed to you,
Right.
you have to find a way to make money. So what do?
Start selling yourself.
You start selling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There was a...
Wait a minute, clarify. Selling drugs yourself or
Yes.
literally selling yourself?
I mean, some people
do both.
too.
I know that's
Yeah.
why that's why I said to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you start selling this and
Just
that.
to be clear, I think you could sell yourself, though. You're pretty good looking, too.
I appreciate it.
I would subscribe to your OnlyFans.
Not that I would support that. I'm just saying. Go ahead. Sorry.
But you get into that cultural role, and then everybody starts to know your name, and everybody's like, "Well, I know somebody who can hook you up. I know this feller. He can do it for you." And without even realizing it, in an instance, in order to feed my own addiction off of that, I become other people's avenues to be addicts.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where that we get into the subculture. The subculture of drugs is unlike anything you've ever experienced if you've never been part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a paranoid, schizophrenic group of people who are always thinking that the law is after them and that you're a snitch and that you're a narc. You'll have guns pulled on you. You will be put in precarious situations that you can't even believe that you're sitting in after everything is over with. At the time, you're like, this is wild. And then afterwards, you're like, what is happening?
Holy shit. Yeah.
And then eventually you get to a point. I think that every addict gets to a point to where they're like, what am I doing right now? Whether that happens to be them getting locked up in jail, whether that happens to be for them different things taking place in their life. It could be losing a loved one to the same drugs that they're selling to everybody else. But something has to happen in that instance to make them say, I need to do better. I need to figure this out. And whenever they get to that point, a lot of people say, I want to get clean. That's my answer. That's my ticket. The resources to do that is immense. And whenever you say, I need to get clean, a lot of people don't know what's involved with those words.
Well, the cost of those resources is immense. It's
very much so.
Insane.
Well, it is, and at the same time, it's not. We have a lot of programs out there, and I'm not going to douse anything on these programs such as methadone, Suboxone clinics, things of that nature. There are a lot of people out there today that are good people who got addicted to this crap that pharmaceutical companies was pumping down our throats that led them down a road of addiction. They ended up in the same place I was at, and the only reason why that they're alive today.
And I can think of two people right off the top of my head.
Is because of methadone, things of that nature.
Yeah.
The issue.
Gosh, there's a lot of them that have left though too.
Yeah.
The biggest issue that lies with that is it entails that they get on another addictive chemical, and that's then sold to you by the government, and the government really don't want to wean you off of it. They want to keep you there for as long as possible, and these programs to go into them, it has a lot of stipulations to get into them. They give you your dosages whenever you go in. You got to drink it from a cup most of the time, and then eventually they send you a take-home pack to where that you only got to go back like once a week, and then it'll be over I think a 2-week period or something of that nature. But you actually have to go to them and you have to say, I want off of this stuff. And then they're like, are you sure? And you're like, yeah, I want to be done with this. And they can't say, okay, well then don't take it anymore. If you stop one of those pills, you die.
Well, here's I do have a question. I hear a lot that government's making money off Suboxone and these from these clinics, but they're free, are they not?
Most of the time, if you're on like Medicaid or something like that,
so
you get those.
I don't necessarily. I don't think they're making. I don't think the government is making money off of these programs.
It's the government. They're making money somehow.
I may push back on that. I don't know in this instance that they are. I don't know that they would be, because I don't see how they could make money off that, because they're paying for the drug that the patient's taking, and most of the time it's free. So I don't see any avenue for them to monetize that.
Probably one of the craziest things about my toils with addiction and everything that I was going through, and as I said, I'd become part of that subculture and everything else, is unlike most people who that you see out here who are on meth, who have scabs all over them and everything else, other than weight loss, I was a productive member of society. I went out there and I worked every day.
Jerry, I have a person right now in my life that I'm a friend of mine that has told me their story, and it's very similar to that. They kicked it cold turkey. Just one day realized
Jesus
and
Christ.
this person told me their entire story with this, and it sounds so familiar to what you're telling me. That I mean, they were completely a stand-up person in society. You would have really never known.
Yeah.
You know, other than the fact that if you ran around in those circles, you know.
Yeah.
But some of the things they told me, you know, and I think you might have touched on it the last time. It's, you know, it becomes a manipulation thing. You begin to manipulate everybody around you to try to get what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you wake up in the morning and your whole life is.
I was no longer Jerry. I was unplugged from the person that I am.
See, that's exactly how I felt this whole time I've been on SSRIs.
Yeah.
This whole time. Like just today even, I'm like, I actually feel like Josh. Like I actually feel like a person again.
Yeah.
And you know, I know the maybe the ramifications and the effects of the two different addictions are different. But I am 100% physically addicted to Paxil.
Yeah.
If I stopped right now, I would have horrific withdrawal symptoms.
You probably have seizures and everything.
I very well could.
Well, like in your case, this goes into that movie. What's it called? The one about the Sackler family?
Yeah.
What is it called?
The
Pain?
Sacklers, ain't it?
I think maybe.
We talked about it last time.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
But you mentioned that guy that dies in the end of it.
I mean,
Yeah.
and it was one of those things where that as I was going through active addiction and I was battling this process, just like that guy who owned the tire shop in that, he was battling an addiction that he didn't even realize that he had at first. And whenever that addiction took over his entire life, he finally got to rehab and he started getting clean. And it ended up that he walked in on a bunch of junkies in a hotel room and they had pills laid out, and he seen those pills laying there and he snatched them up. And the next day he went to his truck and he was like, I'll just bust one up and do it. So he busted one up, he snorted it, and he died. And watching that in that instance, like, I felt everything that man was going through. Like whenever it put a heartbeat on, and you could hear his heartbeat start slowing down until it stopped, and I could put myself in that body. I understood him.
Yeah.
And
God, it's powerful, Jerry.
There is a lot of really good people in this community. I would say that it has destroyed them, but it hasn't just destroyed them. It's destroyed, businesses.
Yeah.
It's destroyed families. It's destroyed business partners.
Yeah.
It's destroyed everything around them. And the thing about it is as you're active in that addiction, the whole world can be a burning around you, but only your addiction's talking to you.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first time you do, if you don't come onto an addiction, honestly, like that, being introduced to opiates from a doctor, if you come to your addiction through just straight up drug use, right? The first time you do it is to get high. Every other time you do it after that is to not be sick. And that's something people that have never experienced that don't realize. They don't realize. And when I say not be sick, I mean like the sickest you've ever possibly been in your life.
Yeah. Well, I'll go into the.
I was going to ask you what you had mentioned that everybody has their thing that makes them hit rock bottom. What was yours?
Something that I can't go into deep detail about.
Sure.
I don't want to get choked up and start crying.
Sure.
Just talk. It's candidly as you're comfortable.
It's one of those things where that I was given a choice, and my choice was clear, and my choice was simply put that there was people who knew what I was doing. They knew how that I was doing it. They knew where that I was doing it. And it just so happened that it benefited me that there was other people who knew those people, who knew what was going on, that said, "Hey, things are about to come down on your head." And I got rid of everything. I done away with everything, and I said, "It's time for me to get clean." And it wasn't long after that that there was a lot of attention that was brought on me. And everywhere that I went, there was a patrol car. Everywhere that I would sit, there was a patrol car. Every time that I would sit at my house, I could look out my window, no paranoia, there was a patrol car. And it come down to I had a choice to make. And I called my mom, and I said, my mom at that point in time didn't even know that my addiction was as bad as what it was. She knew that it existed, but she didn't know to what level that it existed. And I said, "You know that I've been doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing, and I need you to clear your schedule and come and stay with me for 2 weeks." I sat in my bedroom. I heard voices that wasn't there. I seen things that wasn't there. I heard babies crying where there was no baby around. I heard voices of my name being called out. And my mom watched me go through the withdrawals for about 6 or 7 days straight. It's so powerful that you end up using the bathroom on yourself and you can't even help it. You throw up constantly. Your joints have never hurt so bad in your entire life, because whenever you do opioids, everything just settles into your joints. And I can't even describe to you the type of pain that you feel from something, coming off of something that kills pain. Is that not crazy? And sitting through that and going through that, it was so bad that after I had finally come down to where that I had my senses about me and everything else, I had to take my mattress and throw it out in the yard. I had completely sweated all the way through a queen size mattress.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, the thing weighed like 200 pounds from it just being soaked in sweat. And it was after that, I dabbled in things here and there after that, but I wouldn't get to the point to where that if I felt like I was getting addicted to something, I'd back off of it. And I completely, which took a lot, got out of the whole moving pills here and moving pills there,
right,
and buying and selling and everything else. Like me and
change your phone number.
me and a friend of mine, we had quite the operation going on at one point in time, and it was to feed our addictions.
Right, sure.
And through doing that, it's just, I look back at it and I'm like, how did that happen? And the sad reality and truth to it is there are people who are probably going to watch this podcast. There are people who have this same feeling. I got lucky because I got out of it before that I ended up in jail. And jail would have led to prison, because once you have a name, you'll always have a name. But I already had that name. I just hadn't got to the point of being busted with anything yet. And it took me figuring it out on my own and doing it all on my own and actually beating the addiction on my own. I didn't use anything to beat it, and come to find out, I stood a very high chance of dying doing it the way that I done it.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow I was actually able to do it. And
By the grace of God, brother.
and you know, that was my religion had played a large part in it. And going through all of that, I watch so many people go through this active addiction, and you know, sometimes you're just put in the right place at the right time and the wrong place at the wrong time too. I was put in the right place at the wrong time, and I found myself just spiraling, and I spiraled until I actually just nose bombed into the bottom.
Right.
And
how long was that process altogether, Jerry? From the time when you walked in there after that accident to the time when you got off of them?
It was about a 3.5 year period, I would say. 2.5 to 3.5 years, depending on how that you look at it. The super bad active addiction was probably within a 2-year span.
Right.
2.5 years tops.
Yeah. Did you ever almost get caught?
Oh yeah, plenty of times.
You tell us about one that's really interesting. What was your closest
I
call?
might indict myself.
I think the statute of limitations is gone on that. So.
I may have been involved in some of these.
Might have been. I would say
Just something funny that sticks out, or something that sticks out in your mind.
yeah, I had went down. I had went to a friend of mine's house, and he said he wanted to go fishing one night, and I was like, all right, we'll go fishing. And he said, I'm gonna run up to this dude's house, and I'm going to make sure that he's got my stuff. I said, oh, okay. So we went to this dude's house, and he was in there for 30, 40, 45 minutes, and I was like, have you got everything that you need? And he's like, yeah. So we left. We got everything that we needed for fishing. And we stopped at a convenience store. We done our thing in the car. And me and him we was roasted, both of us.
Plowed, yeah.
And he had got two 12-pack packs of beer. And we was leaving, and we was going up Chalk Mountain. And we stopped at the stoplight at the bottom of Chalk Mountain, and there was a cop car rolled right up next to us. And my buddy turned the beer was drinking a beer with the cop car, with the cops looking directly at us. Then he starts going up Burleson Hill, or Chalk Mountain, and the car pulls in behind us. And he pulls us over in front of what used to be the old Estato store.
Right.
They end up pulling him out of the vehicle, and they give him a breathalyzer test, and he just blows something astronomical for it. Well, I'm zooted out of my head, right? But this guy was the one with all of the stuff, and he had it in his pockets. It was in his glove box. It was everywhere in the car, And so these cops come, and they rummage through the car. And they had him to empty his pockets out, and they got him with all of that, and they got him with the stuff in the glove box. And they looked at me and said, do you have anything on you? And I said, no, you can search me if you want to. And they searched me, and of course nothing turned up. And they said, we don't really want to impound the car, so you can drive the car back to his house. And I was zooted out of my brains.
Yep. I feel it.
And I was like, I actually looked at the cop, and I was like, are you sure?
Are you really?
and I ended up driving the car back to his mama's house.
Yeah.
And I told his mom what had happened, and then she took the car and drove it down to pick him up from the jail.
Right.
But Man.
I have a
Sweating
very,
it out, huh?
very similar story. Well, I have a story of almost getting busted, but not.
Yeah.
I won't mention any names in this, obviously. But I was invited by a coworker that I worked with at the time to go camping with her and her husband, her fiance, this husband. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's cool. We'll do that. And at the time I was pretty heavily involved in psychedelics and weed culture. Smoked a lot of weed, and was
Right.
doing my whole thing there. This is right about the time you and I met.
Right.
Actually, right after you and I had met. Maybe the year after or whatever. But it was within a year of you and I meeting. So, and Jerry wasn't involved in this. This time. So, it's like, okay, cool. So we were like, all right, yeah, we'll go camping. And I wanted to have a cool, chill weekend. And called a couple of friends of mine and the girl I was dating at the time. It's like, we're going to go camping. You want to go? And they were like, yeah, sure. So I took with me my girlfriend, 2 other people. And we go down there. Okay, so I'll preface it with this. I didn't want to take. I don't know why, but I was just like, I'm not going to take any weed. I don't want any weed on me to go camping. I want to do mushrooms. I want to eat some shrooms.
Yeah.
So before we left,
It's a heavy commitment.
it was
An only shrooms weekend. You made a decision, right?
well, it was just one night,
oh, okay.
and I wanted
All right.
to trip
Okay.
in nature. I wanted
Yeah,
to trip,
I got you.
be in nature. So, I ate the shrooms on the way there. I wasn't driving.
Right.
I was riding. I was a passenger, and we get there, and then we have to get into a truck, and we were driven, God only knows how long into the woods, like probably 2 miles into the woods, and we were somewhere down on Blue Rock, maybe a swimming hole down on Blue Rock
Yeah.
in Burnsville. Does
Yeah.
that sound familiar? Does that
Yeah.
sound right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Blue Rock, yeah.
Yeah. There's a little swimming hole down there with like a rope swing or whatever.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
where the hippies used to hang out and go
Yeah.
That's where we were.
naked. Yeah.
That's where we were.
He was
Okay.
the hippie. Huh?
I was
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the hippies. I wasn't naked this time.
I wasn't a hippie, but I saw them plenty of times.
Okay. So
Let's just say we were good friends with some naked people down there. Yeah.
okay. So we get there, and the coworker, the girl that invited us, was like, "I'm gonna go get my husband from work. He's just getting off work. It was dark at that point.
Right.
The shrooms had kicked in on me.
Right.
I wasn't quite peaking yet, but I was getting there. And I don't know, they were gone. There was a bunch of, we were all sitting around a campfire, just having a good time. I was feeling great.
Right.
And everyone was drinking. There was a bunch of people there we didn't know. Lo and behold, I had no idea. Again, I genuinely did not know we were trespassing on somebody else's property.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And the person who owned the property saw the campfire and called the law, as they probably should have.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So I see flashlights coming. I'm like, oh, well, they're back.
Yeah.
And then I heard radios. And I was like, it's like collectively all at the same time, everyone went, shit, when they saw uniforms and badges.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it's the law.
Right.
And I am on Pluto right now.
Right.
Like, out of my mind. Like, I'm
Yeah.
seeing colors.
You're approaching the copper belt out there, huh? Yeah.
I was.
I get it.
I really was.
Yeah.
I was tripping hard. I think I ate it was over an eighth of shrooms.
Yeah.
It
Ooh.
was a lot,
Ooh.
and they were good shrooms.
Whew.
So I'm wearing a Pink Floyd shirt.
First time I ever met him, he was wearing a
Fucking
pink
course
shirt.
you are.
So the cop goes, Pink Floyd, come here. And I'm like, me, Pink Floyd? Pink Floyd, come here. I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. So he's shining the light, and he's like, are you high? And I'm like, yeah, buddy. 'Cause
Yes, sir.
I'm all pupil. And
Yeah.
like, I know I'm boned.
You might as well just
Yeah.
cops to it. Yeah.
I know I'm boned. So he's like, are you high? I'm like, yeah. Let me make sure I didn't hit. I think I may have accidentally hit a button. Make sure I didn't kill the recording. I'll edit this out. Okay. Yeah, we're still recording. Okay. Anyway, so he's like, are you high? And I'm like, oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so high. I'm so high because I know there was no way I could pass off
Sure.
that I was sober.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have incriminated myself like that, but he was like, "What are you high on?" And I'm like, "Weed, probably." He was like, "Who has it?" I was like, "I don't know. Genuinely, I didn't know." He's like, "Is it here?" And I was like, "I don't know. Maybe, probably. Hell, I don't know."
Right.
He's like, "Do you have any?" I said, "No, I don't." And he patted me down and searched me, and he was like, "All right, you sit down right here." So he set me down, and then he starts asking me my name, date of birth, and all this stuff. And I'm looking up at him, and I'm fighting this trip just as hard as I can, which is
Right.
making it worse.
Right.
So when he's asking,
Sweating.
yeah,
Yeah.
sweating bullets. He's asking me my names, and he's like, I'm seeing all this weird shit with his mouth, and like his words aren't making sense, and I'm just like, oh my god. So anyway, they were like, what's up with this guy? They were like, I don't know. His eyes are about to bog out of his head, and I was like, they are. I'm pretty sure they already have. They're running around somewhere over there, but I don't know. Luckily for me, a couple of other people there that we didn't know, that we weren't involved with, had some harder stuff on them, like meth and whatever, and they took off running through the woods. So they distracted the cops, and
Right.
we're just kind of sitting there like, what do we do now?
Right. So these people just randomly take off.
Yeah, they just ran. One of them made it to a vehicle and actually led them on a chase. So thank you for that. You know who
Meth
you are.
guy.
You know who you are. I didn't know him at the time, but I now know who he is and know his name. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? But anyway, we had to walk out of there. Me with a head full of shrooms. And the whole time.
Did the cops ever come back?
Oh, yeah. They did. They came back, and one of them actually stayed there with us.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so
I
we
got
weren't
you.
like left unsupervised because
I
they
got
knew
you.
we were up to some shenanigans. They
Right.
just couldn't pinpoint what. But they were like, "All right, we got to get you guys out of here." So they didn't cuff us or nothing. They didn't,
Yeah.
At that point, I guess we were probably detained, but they didn't explicitly say so. So they were just like, I broke down my tent. I was a prepared little hippie.
Yeah,
I
of
had
course.
my tent and all of my stuff, so I broke it down, packed it all up, and doing this.
It,
while
of course, looked like the Taj Mahal the whole
it
time you were doing
was.
it. You were like,
It
I'm
was-
disassembling the Temple of David right now.
Absolutely was. It was massive,
Yeah.
and it was like a little 3-person pop tent.
Right.
Like there was nothing.
Felt like it took 3 hours.
It was at least the size of this room in my head.
right.
And the whole time the cop keeps asking me like, "What are you on?" And I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm good." I just kept saying
I'm
shit
good,
like
brother.
that. Like, "I'm good, dude." So
He was over there with the tent rod going.
probably I would have loved. I know they didn't have body cams then because this was 2003, but I would have loved to seen that footage
Oh, yeah.
of me trying to disassemble and tear down a tent on mushrooms with the law standing there shining
Right.
flashlights at me, like under pressure too. So we're walking out of there, and it's a fucking track, man. And I even then, like I'm nowhere near as big as I am now, but I was still a pretty big dude. And
Right.
I was tripping, and I told the cops, like, dude, can we just stop and let me smoke a cigarette, man? Like, I really need a cigarette. And he was like,
Right.
yeah, sure, take you a break. So we stood there and talked a minute, and he was like, y'all seem like pretty good cats. Like, yous are just wrapped up in the wrong crowd. And I was like, yeah, we are.
I love the way you think. Actually, you're exactly right. I don't even know these fucking other people. Who are they? They're crazy.
That's what I told him. And I'm sure he didn't believe me.
Right.
I was like, I really don't know these other people. They
Yeah.
just randomly here. So we walk up, and we finally, what seemed like 8 years later, get to the top of the hill.
About the time sunset's coming. Yeah.
We're getting out of the
Yeah.
woods, and luckily we had a friend with us who was sober, and he was like, the cop was like, we have way too much paperwork to deal with all of this shit. The guys run in, one actually led them on a car chase and crashed his car, whole big ordeal.
Right.
It's like, y'all stay away from these guys, go home. I found the property owners were there, and when we walked out, and I found them and apologized to them. I was like, look, I'm so sorry. I had no idea I was trespassing. I just came camping with my friends. I would have never came.
Now
Had I
that
known.
I've sweat out all the shrooms
Yeah.
on this hike out of
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
let me say I'm really sorry that we were on your land.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have. If I'd have known that we were there
Oh,
without
sure.
permission, I would have never never done that. But,
there were things I went to in Madison County and places. I'm like, I don't even know where we are, much
Yeah.
less if we're on.
Well, that was me.
Land. Or
that was
something.
me, and I was 17, maybe 18
Right.
at the time.
Sure.
Like I was young. I had no idea where we were. I'd never been down here. I thought everything was on the up and up, and it was a safe place to eat some mushrooms.
Yeah.
Boy, was I wrong.
Do you not have a guitar with you? I figured
No,
you-
thank God. Thank God. Now
I'd
that's
have been like, officer, let me play you a little ditty.
that's
Start
one
playing like
thing.
comfortably
Actually-
fucking numb.
When I decided. Let me just play "You Wish You Were Here" one time, please.
Make it like the longest, play the whole album. Yeah.
No, like,
Dark Side of the Moon from the beginning to the end.
Eventually, the cops had just left, and they still.
I promise I'm almost done, officer. I swear, if you'll just give me a minute.
Thank God I had enough forethought to think, because I was like, I don't want to take any weed with me, and I was like, I'm not taking a guitar because I don't want to carry it out of the woods.
Yeah.
I knew that, and the only guitar I had at the time actually was I had 2 or 3. I didn't have nowhere near the
Right.
what I have
The
now.
collection, yeah. I got
And it's
that.
still like they were all fairly expensive, and the only acoustic I had a lot of sentimental value to me, so I wasn't
Right.
about to take it into the woods.
Right.
Thankfully, I was sober when I made that decision.
Good. Yeah, that always helps. Sober planning is the key to
It
any good
is.
journey.
It is. That's why I didn't have weed on me, and all the shrooms I'd already eaten. So it was like,
Have you ever packed for like a trip, like high? I've done that a couple
No, I
times.
never
Oh
have.
my God, dude. I packed for like a 7-day vacation, baked out of my absolute mind one night. And I went on vacation. I'm like,
34
what the
days,
fuck? I'm
didn't
like, this, I've got 17 pairs of underwear. I
do
think
I
I
need-
thought I was putting like pajama pants or something in there, and it was just 5 things more of underwear. And I'm like, well, I don't even.
What do I need?
I can't even make a
toaster
wardrobe
for?
out of any of this.
What do I need a toaster for?
Right, exactly. Well, at the time, this seemed like such a good idea to bring this Clorox with me, but now I don't know what I was thinking.
the first time I met Jerry?
Oh,
I come home from Walmart shopping high. I was baked out of my mind, and I went to Walmart and went shopping. It was in the middle of the night,
Right.
back when Walmart was 24 hours. He was friends with my roommate at the time, and he was there when I got home. And what all did I have from this shopping trip? I had,
he had a CD that he already owned.
which was Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
For the 6th copy that you bought, yeah.
He had on a pair of sunglasses that still had the price tag around the nose. He had on a Pink Floyd shirt, a Pink Floyd hat.
Probably, yeah.
He was wearing shorts, but the shirt was a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah,
He had on
I remember that
shorts.
era, that Josh era. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did that a lot. Yeah.
I still do.
Yeah.
And this is the kicker. He come in and he had all this food with him, and he set it on the counter, and he started putting the food up, and he was putting it into the freezer, and I was watching him put the food in the freezer, and then I looked around the kitchen, and he was putting microwave food in the freezer, and I was like, he don't have a microwave. and I asked him. I said, "Where's your microwave at?" And he looked in the freezer and looked at his counter and went, "Shit."
Damn.
So I actually remember going. The whole point of me going to Walmart was because I was pirating cable and I needed 50 foot of coax.
Yeah, he had
To still-
coax with him too. Did you go to buy a microwave too?
I don't know. I don't know about the microwave. I know I got one like shortly thereafter because I had all this food I had to eat. Right? And that microwave lasted up until I moved in here. By the way,
Oh wow!
yeah, that was a hell of
Good
a
microwave. Yeah, they used to make microwaves.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
My Hispanic guys, they love old microwaves because they bring them to the job site and
Mm-hmm.
do use heat up. They don't like the new ones because they break too easy.
Yeah. This
They
was-
like the old school.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
It
big
was just
chunky
a
ones.
box with a
Yeah.
slam door on it.
Yes, exactly, and a dial. Those
Now
are
this
favorite.
one was digital. It had buttons and
Yeah.
it had a little button to open. It was a GE, a little white GE. I'll
Yeah.
never forget it. But But yeah,
Sounded like bah.
yeah, for sure.
Some of those little cheap ones, man,
Yeah.
they're loud.
I know.
But I guess with everything that I was talking about the addiction thing, and people are watching this, it's possible to get away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100% possible to break the cycle. It's 100% possible to get away from it. I have a very good friend right now. If he's watching it, he'll know who that I'm talking about. But he's one of the nicest dudes that you could ever ask for, and I watched him go through the throes of addiction. And man, he went to a program that they have here in the county, and he is like back to who he used to be, and it is so refreshing.
That's awesome.
To see him at a place, and I mean he's doing it through the program using methadone and things like that.
Yeah.
But he was on death's door, like literally just a bag of bones. That was all that he was.
Yeah.
Well, you know, as many people as I can think of that have went there and never come back, or aren't back yet, there's a lot of people I know that have went there and recovered too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And again, maybe that's the shocking thing, that the Sacklers are still not in prison.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, they ruined countless small towns across this country.
They ruined a
generation.
a decade
Yeah.
of people.
Yep.
And you, from that decade of people, you know, you was pointing at us. We were part of that generation that grew up where that pills was just free to get.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had a want, you could find a way.
Well, there was something wrong, because my grandmother used to have my mom was one of them even in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She's convinced there was a pill to fix everything.
Yeah.
And she literally, this is no joke. I remember one day I was like, Grandma, I was like, you got any like Advil or anything? She's like, yeah. Let me see. She goes to the drawer underneath the stove.
Has 500 pill bottles in it.
Dude, it was an aluminum mixing bowl, just full of pills.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a little like ibuprofen, like a little Tylenol, and like a couple other little things. But then the rest of it was just random pills underneath.
Really?
And she's like, "Nah, let me get you a stomach pill." And it's like, if you, and I mean, granted, she was old when she was doing this. I mean,
Right.
and so they gave her anything she wanted, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, "Oh, my wrist hurts," and they're like, "Here, have some
Oxycodone.
or whatever."
Well, dude, and the thing is, like, that generation, they would have never thought in a million years that the doctor would prescribe them something that would hurt them.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
Like, her whole mindset was,
Yeah.
well, if it comes from it can't hurt you if it comes from a doctor.
Right.
Well, we know that's not true
No,
anymore.
it is not true.
Yeah, because
all.
because the doctors are told what agenda to push.
Right.
Well,
They're
And I
not,
do think some doctors, I mean, back then, you know that there were some doctors that were well-meaning. They were like, oh, man,
Yeah.
these are miracle drugs. Like,
yeah.
But they're
the pharmaceutical company wasn't being
Yes.
honest
Yeah.
with the doctor.
Yes, they were not.
Yeah.
They
But
told them
yeah,
before they testified before Congress that they were not addictive.
Right.
And they knew they were.
they said that they had a 1% addiction.
Oh, my God. That is so...
yeah.
Can you
1%.
imagine that? Like...
And the thing about it is it was one molecule setting, I think, from being heroin.
Yeah, they basically
They
just
were-
back-engineered heroin
They
and put it onto the
did.
open
Yeah.
market.
They did.
That's exactly what that it was. And you know, here's the crazy thing about it is I know what joy is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what happiness is, and I know what my range of emotions are, and I know all of that stuff. But whenever you are fed that amount of dopamine,
Mm-hmm.
every receptor in your brain is like, this is happiness. This is what life is all about. That's what addiction actually is.
It literally
And-
steals your happiness.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
It becomes your happiness.
It replaces your happiness. It replaces your dopamine drip that you get naturally from. And I mean, one of the guilty pleasures that we all have that's a constant dopamine drip is these.
Yeah, well, I would add to that too that the mechanism in which drugs like opiates and SSRIs make you addicted is a little bit, a step further than just a dopamine drip. Like your body, you in your brain, you've got opioid receptors.
Yeah.
And once you introduce those into your body, of course it does affect your brain and your brain chemistry. An interesting point too to add this caveat is, or not this caveat, but this extra little tidbit is, they are now saying that there is no such thing as a chemical imbalance in your brain.
I don't know how that's supposed to work.
That's interesting. We'll get into that later. I don't have a lot of time to get into it. I'm sure we probably need to wrap this up here. It's almost 10 o'clock. But
yeah. But
anyway, what I was going to say was the there's the physiological part in your brain, but your body, just like all the withdrawals you went through, those were not just from dopamine. Those were from, I mean, your body, every system in your body had to have that drug in order to function normally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same. I feel like the SSRIs are our generation's opioids. I feel like it's gonna get to that point. I really do.
And it's even slippier.
More slippery.
It's
of a
more
slope.
more slippery.
I see what you're
slope,
saying. Yeah.
You know, because it's not something that you can just readily detect. It's almost like that's more scarier than pain pills. At least pain
For
pills are
real.
just like face value. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
An SSRI is like, well, you can't tell me what I need and what I don't need. Well,
Right. I know. I know,
I
dude.
don't know if
I
you
know.
really need these.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like and the other thing is too is when people come off of those things, it's like you can't deal emotionally with what's going around or on around you.
Right.
Like I know people that they're on medication and don't leave the house because I'm too nervous. Like
I know. And that
like,
goes
what
back.
kind of life is that though? Like
I mean, it onsets one thing like that you do can onset agoraphobia, can onset more anxiety, can onset, and I mean it's just a downhill slope.
well, that's what I'm
entire
saying.
way.
It's like I mean,
And there
I
are
just know people that are like I know people
I
that
do
are
too.
like
I
this,
do
and I'm
too.
like, dude.
I know people who have such crippling anxiety that it controls their life.
Right, and it's like, well, I just got anxiety. I just got to take my meds.
Yep.
No, that's not life. Like you're not living. I mean, I'm sure some people absolutely take medication and live a very normal life. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm just saying that I think if we were all to be honest with ourselves, we know people that are like that, and that's no way to live a life. You can't
Not
just
at
live
all.
your life never leaving the house.
No.
You
That's-
don't ever leave the confines of four
You know what
walls.
this
Like,
is?
what are you doing?
This is mental illness run amok.
Yes, it is.
It
and
is
no
mental
wonder we're
illness.
chopping her wings and her
Right.
vaginas off.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. Because 45% of the nation has lost its fucking mind.
yeah, and I've you know,
Jerry, tell us how we fix it. How do we fix it, Jerry?
or really and truly where that we're at now. The only true way that we're going to fix it is by, and this is going to seem so stock standard, but we need to figure out a way for whatever we was doing in the 80s and 90s. We'll probably never get that back. And you can't tell a generation who was born after 2000 what that was like and what that feeling was. It was like we lived through the Cold War. We grew up with Alice in Chains and Red Hot Chili Peppers and Sublime, and we grew up in the grunge era, post the hair band metal.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up watching cartoons, and we grew up
Playing
playing
outside.
video games.
We grew
and
up playing outside and
Yeah.
playing with each other. That's
is-
the big thing.
which is something
Playing
that
with other kids.
I'm really happy about my kids. Is I make sure that they have a steady intake of mud diets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and they actually want to get outside, and they'll at times they'll kind of buck it and be like, we want to play video games, or we want
Right.
to get outside and enjoy the sun.
Right.
Okay, and then
Save the video games like we did for when it was raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
That's
even
literally
play video games.
we murdered Mario Kart on the rainy days,
Yeah.
and we were, but it was like competitive. Even then, it was like we were screwed. That's the reason I know the single most durable thing that's ever been created is an N64 controller.
Controller. Yeah. That's,
You could not
Yeah.
break them,
Yeah. That's probably
and
what
it
they
never
should-
got stick drift. It never got anything.
right.
now now the rumble thing would mess up occasionally.
Yes, that would go sometimes.
They probably should have made the Titan out of that.
They should have.
That sea
Just make a shell
submarine.
Yeah.
out of
Yeah,
it.
the submarine.
I guarantee you, an N64 controller could make it to the Titanic
100%.
without imploding.
100%.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
100%.
But you know, we have to find, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. We have to pinpoint what was different.
So there's a lot there that's
There's
different.
10,000
There
things
is,
that was
and
different.
The problem with this too is we're looking at this through the lens of nostalgia, which I've said on here a million times. Nostalgia is bullshit, because we're looking when you think of when you think of a time period in your life from the past that was much better. You know, it's really kind of the point of that's kind of moot. Like there's really, I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
I can pinpoint one thing directly where that I felt like it was for the good, but ended up taking a dive in the other direction. Something awful that happened in our history was whenever 9/11
Mm-hmm.
happened. And I feel like between 9/11, we had, like, it didn't matter what sexual agenda that people was. It didn't matter what color people was. It didn't matter what religion that you supported. None of that mattered. We was all Americans at that point in time. And then as that wore off, it was like we hit a point right there at 2008 whenever there was a downturn in the market. Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, the automotive industries. The country was bailing them out. We was going through a recession at that point in time. All of our jobs from NAFTA and all of that stuff had dissolved in this area and went away. The drug epidemic was here, and it was strong. Like you guys know just as well as I do. It's not what it was now. Thanks to our law enforcement now, and thanks to recovery programs and everything else, it's not what it was then to what it is now. But it left a scar and a ripple that we're still trying to figure out how to recover from.
Yeah. Here's something I thought this week. I think we got to trust the cycle. I think we got to trust the cycle in a big way, because things always come. I don't care what you do; things are cyclical. Everything.
They are.
The story of life and death of things is played out over and over and over again. It's played out in all of our religions. It's played out in nature. It's played out everywhere, and it plays out in trends too. When it comes to things, right now there's a lot of trends that I would argue that are negative for the American. The American well-being. It's like I don't think. I think we're. There's been a backlash against patriotism. There's a backlash against family values. There's a backlash against, but all those things come full circle again. And when the backlash becomes the popular thing, then that will also have a backlash, which will
Right.
be a return to family values, a
Right.
return to things.
And
And so-
we're already seeing some.
Oh
of that.
yeah, we're already seeing that, and I think in some ways, I mean, there's nothing wrong with fighting the intellectual, battle. Getting in on the intellectual battlefield with all these things, and making your voice known and advocating for what you think is right. We should do that regardless.
Sure.
But I think in a lot of ways, you still just have to trust that cycle. That some of this stuff that we're freaking out about right now, will inevitably come back around the other way.
I think so. Yes, to some degree. I used to think more along those lines than I do now, just because of the way things are playing out. But I want to go back to what you were talking about 9/11. I have kind of a different perspective on 9/11.
Okay.
And, I do agree that it did. It brought us all together. But I guess my perspective is whether you think that 9/11 was engineered from within or not, 9/11 was the catalyst to a proxy war in the Middle East and to an all-out war with Iraq that destabilized the Middle East, led rise to ISIS, and killed millions and millions and millions of people. And that's what united us as a nation. Let that sink in for just a minute.
Yeah, that's
How
pretty
fucked
sad.
up is that?
Yeah.
That is insane.
Well, it's even the things that brought us together are also the things that the government ended up. That's how effective the government is.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate all you've done. We were filling America, and you just used it to go and
Uh-huh. Yep.
Do
start a
some
20-year
pretty awful things.
proxy. Yeah, some pretty terrible stuff.
Yeah.
and
Never
the-
let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, and just let it completely fall apart in the end in a ridiculous fashion for no apparent reason whatsoever.
And the worst part of that was all those people died. Our troops went over there and fought a war, and they come back, and I guarantee you that there are 10 people that you can name, at least 10 people, who was directly affected by that war and have conditions now
Mm-hmm.
because of things that they seen
And ended up
happen.
addicted to an SSRI or
Yep.
pain medication.
100%.
And there we have it.
Yep.
And now we've come full circle.
We have.
Well, on that bright, cheery note,
On that bright, cheery note, everyone,
It's
please like,
10
share,
p.m.
subscribe.
it's 10 p.m. on the East Coast. Here comes your your news on the hour.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, it is. Jerry, thanks so much for...
Jerry, it was
Join us
awesome,
again.
dude.
Absolutely.
This was better than the last one.
Yeah, it
I'm-
was.
And I thought the last
always
one was
happy.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good. I appreciate you telling your story and being honest like that, man.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
No
I
problem.
wish I could. Like I said, I have a person in my life that has an incredible story like that. I really have encouraged this person to tell their story, and it's hard. I mean, because there's a lot of embarrassment, there's shame
yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
a lot of things people don't want people to know.
One of the worst things about sharing a story like that a lot of times is people will look down on you when in all actuality you went through it. You come out on the better side of it, and people should be proud of you for coming out. But they'll be like,
Oh, you used to be
yeah, you used
addict.
to be an addict. Well, in all actuality, yeah, me being an addict at one point in time actually made me a stronger person.
Well,
Amen, Jerry. More people
Yeah.
should know that.
100%.
More people should know that.
100%.
Because I do think it carries a negative sting. Because there's always like, oh, what if he just does that again? Or,
What if the U.S. government's just like, oh, there's weapons of mass destruction again?
I've been clean. I've been clean for what, 19, 20 years?
Yeah.
And-
yeah.
And I'm on the back side of this thing, and there isn't a day in my life where that I ever think about anything like that. As a matter of fact, that was that thing of people living in the past. That was my past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't dwell on it. I can share the story of it, but I don't dwell on it in any way whatsoever.
Hell yeah, Jerry.
And you just keep climbing forward. You keep progressing yourself, progressing
Keep
your
growing.
life.
Yeah. Amen, man. More people need to hear those type of stories. I appreciate it, dude. We should have Jerry on more often.
We should. We should.
We need to get a once a quarter update from
Yeah.
Jerry McKinney.
Make sure you're not back in your old ways.
Yes, exactly. We'll hold you accountable. You can hold us accountable too, buddy.
Oh man.
Well, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Well, thank you guys very much for having
I
me.
do. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Take care, Jerry.
As I always sign off, love, peace, and chicken grease.
There you go.
Question everything.